What's up, everybody? It's your boy Derek. Follow me on Twitter at The Weekly Pulls. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Let's get started. This is the Indie Spotlight. Third round. Round 3. Once again, I want to thank each and every single one of you that have reached out to me and Tevin on Twitter at the Tevin minus the I. We've gotten an influx of indie comics from people like you. And I love it. Thank you so much for trusting us with your work and using our platform to get your name out there. Disclaimer, it has been a giant influx. I mean, emails, messages, it's insane. We're doing our best to keep it all together, doing our best to make sure you guys each get on the YouTube channel and mentioned on the podcast. I've got people asking me for interviews. My interviews are booked up through August. This is insane. So if you sent me something and it doesn't make it into this video, don't fret. I haven't forgotten about you. I'm human. I'm doing my best. I'm here for you, and I hope each and every one of you that have inboxed me and sent me these books, I hope this video does you justice. First up, we got some guys that we already featured on the podcast at Comics Omen, at Revelation Comics on Twitter. They sent us 3 books. We're going to go into a little more detail about them here. First up, we have Blitz. Blitz is created by Steve Sellers and Tosin Awasaka. Buddy, I hope I didn't butcher your name. I'm terrible with names. If you listen to the podcast, you already know this. This comic very much has Invincible vibes. It follows this 19-year-old girl named Amy. Stumbles upon some superpowers in a junkyard. This has nice, old-school superhero comic feels to it. It has some corny characters like Mothball. If you listen to the podcast, I mentioned Mothball possibly having relations with Mothman. What do you think? Amy, aka Blitz, is superpowers. She's super strong. She's super fast. She trains with this guy called Night Spider, which I kind of like because it reminds me of Night Thrasher. Night Spider used to be a villain, but now he's turned good, trying to get his honor back. Samurai kind of style. I really like this comic. It was a lot of fun. I like the art in it a lot. As I said, this has an old school feel to it with modern influences. Up next, we have Insurrection, Fox Operations from Michael Nunley and Tosin Awasaka once again. This comic is a story shedding light on the insurgency going on in Nigeria. The comic has a nice, open, dark style to it. Panel to panel in here is great. It has the action you expect. An insurgency is a war, so that's what this is. It's a war story. It's really good. It's got great characters, fantastic art. As I said, the panel-to-panel action is phenomenal. Definitely, if historical fiction is your thing, this is a great read. Third, from Omen Comics, we have Gallows Men. This is a great concept. We have the 3 main characters, the Hangman, the Executioner, and the Headsman. My personal favorite's the Hangman. As you can see, he's pretty good at messing people up big time, breaking bones with the rope and stuff. Awesome. This is a fantastic concept. We have great character models once again here. The art is great. Gallows Men are a part of this bigger organization of killers. An operation goes wrong and it looks bad for our heroes. Or anti-heroes, however you feel about it. Gallows Men is a lot of fun. Definitely pick this up. Up next, I'll send Astounding Tales #0 from @FunnyFigs on Twitter. I really like this story. It's short. It was only about 6 pages, but it hit on all cylinders. This comic follows Billy. She's just this little girl. Her and her dad, they move to a new town. Town is attacked by this giant tortoise-looking monster. Turns out Billy is a super robot. Love the concept. Who doesn't love a cool ass-kicking robot child? It's amazing. I mean, Astro Boy was popular forever. Not that this really gives me Astro Boy vibes, but this is a lot of fun. I look forward to finding out more about Billy. Find these guys on Kickstarter. The next issue, we're going to find out more about Billy. Machines are going to be attacking the city. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. This has some huge potential. Funny Figs, thank y'all so much for sending me your stuff. Next, we have Alex Shoemaker at AJ Shoemaker Art on Twitter. He does a webcomic. This is my first webcomic, and I'll be honest, I didn't realize webcomics were such a big thing, but they're huge. We had a huge influx of people sending us their links to their webcomics, and I love it. It's awesome. Alex writes a comic called Mr. Butterchips at SLG Publishing. Mr. Butterchips is this monkey. They're just short, insightful, and somewhat political comics, and they're a lot of fun. Mr. Butterchips is a bit of a jerk. He's a smart aleck. There is some language in some of these. My favorite political dig is in one of the issues. It's one big dig at Big Pharma, which I love it. We hate Big Pharma. Alex, thank you so much for sending me your stuff. If you want to know more about Mr. Butterchips, definitely look up Alex on Twitter and SLG Publishing. There's a lot of great webcomics out there, you guys. Now we're on to Joel, created by John Durgan and Joel Van Pat, sent to us from Livid Comics, at Livid Comic on Twitter. Love this comic. This is a really fun story. I really love the art in here. It really pops out at you. I love the color palette that they used here. This story follows a main protagonist, a young boy named Will. It's Christmas time. School's let out for winter break. Will stops at the antique shop on his way home before winter break begins to get some Christmas presents. He finds this weird, ominous cube in the shop, and it's only $1, so he picks it up. Will gets home. He doesn't really have the best home life. He runs upstairs after his parents get into a spat at dinner. He kicks his book bag. The cube unleashes some crazy magic. Will gets teleported to this other world, and it is dangerous. That's all I'm gonna give you. I don't want to ruin the whole comic for you. Definitely check out Livid Comics. Definitely check out Joel. This has potential to be a great adventure, horror. I can feel a coming of age story coming from this. This is a fantastic comic, you guys. Everyone at Livid Comics, thank you so much for sending me your stuff. Next up, we have Night from Deanna Conde, Julian Clay. Hope I didn't butcher your name, buddy. Check these guys out on Twitter and follow the links because issue 0 of Night is free. That's right, free. All you gotta do is get to the website, give them your email, and get on the mailing list, and you get issue 0 for free, just like I did. This is a super creative story. Our main character, Cuff Freeman, is taken over by the spirits of dead African Americans who have suffered and have been murdered by racists, whether it be by hanging or other means. Cuff is a badass. I mean, he is running through and he is tearing these people apart, getting revenge. This is a great story. It almost kind of reminds me of Ghost Rider in a way, just because, like, spirit of vengeance. I really love the art in here. I love the dark. I love all of the shading that was done. It's beautiful. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I definitely recommend checking this out. Like I said, it's free. I was fortunate to be sent 2 books from William Allred at Wallred on Twitter. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is Crossover Division. Imagine a world where your favorite novels come into the real world. War of the Worlds, The Wizard of Oz. This is essentially what the Crossover Division is. It follows our main protagonist, Hank. He's a college professor. He feels like all of us have probably felt in our lives there's something missing in his life, whether it be love or money or a career you love. He feels like something's missing. He's walking home from work one evening and he sees a giant Martian ship from War of the Worlds. And it's actually there. Gets intercepted by these 2 agents from none other than the Crossover Division. And this is what they handle, these events of the fictional world crossing over into the real world. This is a super fun concept. I love the art in it. This story is fantastic. I really enjoyed reading this. I really love this concept. He also sent me Diary of Night number 1 and 2. I'm only going to talk about issue number 1. Diary of Night follows Catherine. She's a vampire. In this world, there's a league of vampires. There's this agency, and they find the vampires, and they educate them on what their powers are and how to use them. One of her friends, Tim, has been missing and been missing for a while. One of her old friends finds her and recruits her back to the agency. This comic really is a nice supernatural noir mixed with the personal life of Catherine. In the beginning, it talks about what I assume to be her ex-husband, who was also a vampire, how he died, and it was thousands and thousands of years ago, and she's still not over it. There's some really good story elements in here all the way around. Definitely check out Will Allred on Twitter and follow the links to get your hands on these fantastic books. Will, thank you so much for reaching out, buddy. Okay, I'm not going to be doing favorite picks out of the indies. I will say that I am a little biased, and I do love a good Western. I was sent Jack Irons, The Steel Cowboy, issues 1 through 3 from Ironverse Comics, at cowboy_steel on Twitter. Blown away. Like I said, I'm a little biased because I do love a good Western, but this is fantastic stuff, you guys. Written by Cody Fernandez. I really love Jack's character design. It gives me very much Wolverine vibes mixed with Chuck Billy from Testament. I mean, visually and his attitude. I'm only going to discuss issue 1. At the origin of Jack. Jack is an immortal, but not an immortal like we traditionally think. Every time he dies, he gets reincarnated. It shows us all the past lives that he's lived. They always lead up to his inevitable death. At the present time, Jack is living in the future as Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy. He's a wanted man, and he is a bad ass. If you love westerns, if you love futuristic westerns, you need to check out the Ironverse, you guys. Get some sweet action in here, gunslinging, his past lives. There's one where he's in Greece, one where he was a Native American. The art in this book, love it. Honestly, I'm probably going to be following some links and trying to get my hands on some hard copies of these because I really love Jack Irons. All you guys over at the Ironverse, thank you so much for sending us your comics. We really appreciate it. That wraps up this video's edition of the Indie Spotlight Round 3. As I said in the beginning, if you've sent me stuff, or Tevin, and you didn't see your stuff in this video, don't freak out. We're going to do our best to shine a light on all of you. Tomorrow, me and Tevin plan to record the podcast, and we're going to talk more about all the sweet indies that we've been sent, plus our sweet pulls from the shop. I first started this channel, I intended to review the comics that I was pulling at my comic shop every week. I'm still going to be doing that, but I think it's going to be leaning more towards over on the podcast. When it comes to these videos, comics are visual, and who needs the most spotlight? You indie fellas and ladies. Me and Tevin are both pretty busy dudes, so we're going to be focusing a lot on the podcast, and I'm going to be trying to focus on the indie community. Once again, thank each and every one of you for following us on Twitter, subscribing to the YouTube channel, checking out our podcast. The Weekly Pulls is growing. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Follow me on Twitter at The Weekly Pulls. Find Tevin on Twitter at The Tevin minus the I. Check out our podcast, The Weekly Pulls, available on all platforms. Coming soon to Apple. For those of you that know anything about podcasts, Anchor is taking their sweet time getting us approved for Apple, but we are on Spotify and Google and pretty much every other major platform other than Apple so far. So definitely check that out. All the links are on my Twitter, Tevin's Twitter. Thanks once again to every single one of you people that have reached out to us and sent us your comics. We love it. We appreciate it. Without you all, we have no channel. So thank you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.